Right, where do we begin? Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to another Real Madrid review. The remontada did not work as Real Madrid finished the game losing to Arsenal. It finished Real Madrid 1, Arsenal 2. Man, this team just. I've got so much I could talk about this team. And first of all, people who are going only at Carlo Ancelotti, I don't understand that. I think that is ridiculous to only be pinpointing that on Carlo Ancelotti. He is part of the problem that we have right now, but he is not the problem. Similarly, people who are, individually pointing fingers at players, I don't think Lucas Vazquez, Alaba should have started, but they aren't the only ones who had a bad game. They are players who are being started when I don't think they should. There are players being played out of position when I don't think they should. The whole team, apart from Thibaut Courtois, had a terrible game. And how many times have we said this season? Thibaut Courtois, the only player who was actually good, even though we conceded 2 goals and we played terribly. That was horrendous. I mean, look, for me, I woke up at 3 in the morning, I watched that game, I wasted 2 hours of my time. But for the fans, the thousands of fans who went to the Bernabeu to watch that crap, to believe that remontada was possible. I'm sorry, but where was that belief on the pitch? Off the pitch, we had a lot of belief. The players were coming out saying that they believe that the remontada is possible. This is Real Madrid. It is a Santiago Bernabeu. I get that. I agree. But it doesn't matter whatever, mystical events that might happen at Real Madrid, at the Bernabeu. The players need to turn up. And what did we say? The first 20 minutes needs to be key. You need to score. By half time, you should be 2-0 up. And I also say, you need to frustrate Arsenal and not let Arsenal frustrate you. Because the moment Arsenal start frustrating Real Madrid, it means that Real Madrid just don't have anything going. No attacks, no chances created, no shots on target. Basically what happened in the game. Arsenal frustrated Real Madrid, and if you look back at the 2 goals that Arsenal scored, and if you include the penalty, which was a silly one, to be honest, it was a silly foul from Raul Asensio. But the 2 goals, I know it was late on. I know the first goal was the 65th minute and the last goal was added time. It didn't matter by then. But that's what I mean. The players, by the 65th minute, probably gave up. They knew that it was pretty much over in the 65th minute. They just gave up and, they just let Arsenal score 2 goals. That is the mentality right now. That is the mentality. You want to talk about what is going on. In terms of the players, I don't think these players are crap in terms of playing football. These players are professionals. These players, most of them, have won the Champions League with Real Madrid. Mbappe, we know on his day, he's the best player in the world. And like I said, these players have achieved many trophies in their career and have played really well as a team. prior to this season. So we know that these players aren't crap players to begin with. You know, they aren't. But what do you think is causing these players to perform the way that they are right now? Because like I said, they aren't crap players. The reason they are playing the way they are right now is because they are going out onto the pitch and they don't have that sort of belief. They don't just play the game as it is. The players go out there and they sort of expect Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo, someone in the attack to just sort of cook. That is what Courtois said. We don't have a system. We don't have tactics. What we do is we go out there and we just rely on the front four to do their magic. And guess what? If it doesn't work, the rest of the team, they are confused. They are shocked. They are surprised that, things aren't working in the attack. And defensively, for some reason, we get so exposed and we concede goals after goals after goals after goals, and the attack has nothing to respond to that. The goal we scored was literally a gift, to be honest. But that shows you this team is broken, and it's not because of the quality of the players, it's because of something that is very hard to explain what it is. But it's not the quality of the players, it is these players. I'm not going to say they are not trying, I'm not going to say they're not putting in the effort, but they just don't have that sort of mentality to go out there and play football. The basic of going out there as a professional is to play. These players go out there to play. So why is it that when we go out and play, we are seeing everyone start playing crap, and it seems like we are waiting for miracles in the attack? Because defensively, this team is shocking. This team is shocking defensively. Shocking. Real Sociedad came to the Bernabeu and scored 4. Valencia came to the Bernabeu and won and scored 2. Arsenal have come to the Bernabeu and scored 2, and they could have scored more. Arsenal scored 3 in the first leg. Come on, guys. This is not the standard of Real Madrid, and we know that. We know that this isn't the standard at Real Madrid. So, like I said, it's not the quality of the players that have decreased, that have made this team playing this way. Part of it is simply because these players are going out there with no idea, no clue, and most importantly, not playing the game as it is. The basic of playing football as a professional, I'm pretty sure it's simple. You got there, you get the ball, you pass the ball to a teammate, and you keep it going, right? And when I say play the game, I don't mean you start going out there and you start laughing and you start doing this sort of stuff. I mean, when I say emotionally playing football, it means that it is your passion. It isn't a job, it's a passion. And we don't get that from these players, unfortunately. They don't seem like they're having joy playing with each other. They don't seem like they bother going out there to play for each other. It seems like it's a ridiculously reliant team on one of Mbappe or Vinicius or Rodrigo or Bellingham. That is what is being interpreted to me. When I look at these players go out onto the pitch and they play, it's moments. And speaking of moments, Crossing FC. Look, this is beyond me. And this is another reason why I think that, it's a collective issue. I don't know if it's Carlo Ancelotti telling these players to be putting the crosses in, or these players are just doing whatever the hell they want to do. But look, whether it's Alaba, Vasquez, Fran Garcia, Rodrigo, Vinicius, whoever, the amount of crosses is ridiculous. ridiculous. Why are we putting in crosses when one, we don't have any physical presence in the box, and two, sometimes there isn't even anyone in the box to begin with. It is literally put a cross in and pray. It's literally that. It seems like this team just can't play on the ground. And when you can't break through a team, you play it out wide and you put a cross in. Oh, and what do we expect is going to happen? Fran Garcia puts a cross in, and guess what? Saliba heads it into his own net. Oh, surprise, surprise. That's not going to happen, is it? Come on, like, it's shocking. It really is. It really is. The amount of crosses that was going in. And the commentators were spot on. I mean, what is Real Madrid doing here? You know, it's just literally every attack. You get frustrated. You can't break through the defense because they are very well structured and organized. And when you get it out to an area where you can put a cross in, you put a cross in. Why? That is bizarre. It really is. But what else is there to talk about? The players. In terms of that, absolutely shocking. In terms of, the football. The football, going out there, playing for passion, going out there, playing as a team, not relying on individuals, isn't there. It isn't there. And, putting in so many crosses, I don't know why. But, do I think the manager deserves criticism? Yes. I think he doesn't deserve all the criticism, like I said, but he deserves part of it. Why was Lucas Vazquez starting? I know he wasn't terrible, but to be honest, that didn't really offer us anything, to be honest. And in fact, the only thing that made worse was remove control from the midfield. Because when you have Valverde, Tchouaméni and Bellingham in the midfield, every team in the world would have that midfield as a trio. Right? But the one thing that if we look at these three, they lack is control to dictate the play. The Toni Kroos replacement isn't in that midfield. Bellingham isn't that. Tchouaméni isn't that. Valverde isn't that. Simple. We can all agree. The closest thing, like I said in the preview, to that, and I'm not going to say Dani Ceballos is Toni Kroos, but the closest thing we have is Dani Ceballos. And I have absolutely no idea why Dani Ceballos wasn't starting and was only brought on in the second half. Bringing him on did nothing. Nothing. Because, yes, you take Valverde and you put him in the midfield for that pace, the energy, but great. What did he do in the midfield? Nothing. If you have Ceballos, you can control the possession, control the play, and things just don't start getting so messy. Because the moment things get messy, everyone's putting in crosses in, doing crazy and stupid stuff like that, and we have no idea why. So that was great. David Alaba starting, that's great, I guess. Fran Garcia should have started. He should have. Starting Alaba was a mistake. I mean, again, he didn't have a terrible game compared to the first leg, but that's because Arsenal didn't really attack that much compared to Real Madrid, and yet they still had more chances than us. And when I say they didn't attack that much, I mean they didn't leave their comfort zone. They didn't push everyone forward. They didn't overcommit. They were just sort of happy with what, things were, and just sort of seeing what Real Madrid were going to do. while they were staying organized and frustrating Real Madrid. So if you know that and you start Alaba, what does it do? And I know Fran Garcia starting would have probably meant he put in more crosses, but that is the next point, which is even if he starts, why is he putting more crosses in? So it all adds up one to the other, and it doesn't make sense to me. And the manager aside, lastly, I wanted to say that on the players, the lack of urgency. Most importantly, football aside, the lack of urgency is crazy. These players, for about 45 minutes, where was the urgency? The experienced guys. Lucas Vazquez was the captain. Right? You've got Alaba, you've got Rudiger, you've got Courtois. These are the experienced players on the pitch. Where was the urgency from any of them? And I can't really protect Courtois from this because sometimes when the ball came at him and he picked it up and, he could have started a counter attack, he just sort of stopped. He stopped and he was waiting. And why was he stopping and waiting? Because the players were walking. The players were walking on the pitch instead of running to get back into their positions. Lack of urgency, lack of commitment. It felt like these players thought that they were 3-0 up in the tie. We were 3-0 down and these players were walking, they were waiting around, they were, waiting to see if someone else does something incredible. Lack of urgency, lack of commitment, over-reliant on other players. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a goddamn joke that some of the best players in the world are doing that, are performing like that. It's a joke. It really is. Which is why I cannot be pinpointing the blame all on Carlo Ancelotti. I cannot do that because it's absolutely unfair to a legend. And look, I'm not defending Carlo Ancelotti. I'm not protecting Carlo Ancelotti. I am criticizing him whilst also having a constructive conversation about every problem that this team is facing. Because these players are not playing the way they are because of the manager. These players are not playing the way they are because of their qualities. These players are playing the way they are because they are being sort of allowed to be playing the way they are. They are being allowed. So clearly someone in the team, someone in the club has gone soft. And who is in charge? The manager, Carlo Ancelotti. So it's a bit of everyone. The players, the manager, everyone is involved. And if you think I am sort of forgetting about the hierarchy in terms of the people making the transfer deals, aka Florentino Perez, not just him or fully on him, but him mainly because he is pretty much the one in charge, to allow this team to go all the way to this point of season with Lucas Vazquez as your backup right back, with Fran Garcia and Alaba as your backup left back, with Raul Asensio as a starting centre back. And look, I fully believe Raul Asensio is one for the future. But to have that sort of back four and to not have a Toni Kroos replacement early, to have to commit Luka Modric at 39 to play most games. Apparently he has only made 50 appearances this season, which is crazy for a 39-year-old. But to do all that, to leave the midfield and especially the defense so exposed throughout the season, especially knowing in January, we were terrible in January by that point, to let the January slip by and to sort of stick with this sort of transfer policy, only summer deals, is absolutely baffling. It is crazy, isn't it? But yeah, it's a combination of everything, and I hope that the fans that are saying Ancelotti out. Carlo Ancelotti should go. They should realize that it's not just Carlo Ancelotti who is at fault. The players are. The players are at fault. The players are at fault. And we have to say that. We have to start saying that because it's true. It really is. Who are the ones putting in crosses for 90 minutes? The players. Who are the ones walking on the pitch when we're 3-0 down in the tie? The players. Who are the ones waiting for Mbappe, Vinicius, or someone to create a moment of magic and praying that they would do something? The players. As much as the players don't have a tactic to go by and a system to go by as well, which doesn't help, there was no initiative. And I'm looking at, like I said, the experienced players in the team. Lucas Vazquez, Courtois, Rudiger, Alaba, even Modric, but he didn't even start, so I can't really fault Luka Modric. But the experienced players on the pitch who started, there was no urgency from them. There wasn't. And we've been told this sort of white lie. We've been promised this, lie that these players will make the comeback. They will give in their all. And I'm unfortunately sad to say that I don't think these players gave in their all. I think these players just wanted out. I think these players just wanted to leave this competition. Maybe the players know they're not good enough to play as a team, not individually, but as a team. Maybe the players are just tired and just want to, quit the season. Maybe. But whatever it is, that was the most shocking 90 minutes I've watched in my life. And I have watched many 90 minutes. I would say this is worse than Man City. And you're going to say, which Man City? Every Man City defeat that we have faced. The 4-0, this is worse. Because the difference is, Man City, when we lost 4-0, that Man City side was the best team in the world. They were cooking everyone, to be honest. And it was just unstoppable. And we had a midfield of Modric, Valverde, and Kroos. And that problem with that midfield was it was super unbalanced because there wasn't a defensive player in that midfield. We had the control, but we didn't have a defensive midfielder in that midfield. You look back to previous seasons when we lost to Chelsea, when they eventually won the Champions League. That Chelsea side was incredible, to be honest, under Thomas Tuchel. Prior to that, I think we lost to Man City again. Varane mistake, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. Yes, that was an individual mistake, but the team sucked. But again, I didn't felt that bad. When we lost to Ajax and got humiliated, it didn't felt that bad. And I'm not trying to underestimate and not give Arsenal their flowers, because they deserve to go through over the two legs, and they won 5-1 and they deserved it. Fair play, congratulations. And I'm not gonna say I hope they do well, because I don't really like Arsenal as a team. To be fair, from the remaining teams, I'd rather Inter Milan win it. That's all I gotta say. But this Arsenal side, I don't think they beat Barcelona in the Champions League. I don't think they'll beat PSG. I'm not sure they'll beat Inter. And if Liverpool was still in the competition, probably not as well. So, yeah, to be honest, I don't think Arsenal, compared to Man City, when we lost 4-0, we lost to the best team in the world. We lost to the best team in Europe. The treble winning Man City team. This Arsenal team, before any, ball was kicked, we knew we had a chance. before the first leg, of course. But we messed it up. We messed it up for ourselves. We dug ourselves the grave, and we cannot be blaming anyone on this. We have to look at ourselves. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not gonna talk about the goals. I'm not gonna talk about the goals. I'm not gonna go through the goals because I feel like it's meaningless. It really is, isn't it? Well, it is probably the end of the season now. Yeah. And don't get too excited over, oh, we can focus on the Liga or we can focus on the Copa del Rey. Look at what has happened this season alone against Barcelona. This season alone, even against teams like Valencia and Real Betis and etc. So many examples. And the current form we are in, we aren't winning anything. And you might say, oh, you're so negative. We still have to play Barcelona in La Liga. We still have to play Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final. And we have lost 4-0 and 5-2 already this season. Hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Hit the notification button. Subscribe to the channel on already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.